It's Jenny here with another Hatha flow for you. Today we're going to start laying on our backs. We're going to get into our bridge flow. So we're going to start laying back. So find a nice comfortable spot. Let your back body rest, your head rest. Kind of bring your feet and walk them in close towards your bottom. And just settle in here for a moment. Let your hands go and let your shoulder blades just melt into the mat. And kind of feel the motion of tilting your pelvis so that your whole spine is pressing into the mat. Just feel your body pressing against the mat. Relax your jaw. Just take a few breaths here. Kind of settling in before we start our practice. Giving ourselves that few moments to center and find our breath. So we can connect this nice, full, deep inhale and slow, complete exhale. Connect it with our movements when we start to move. We're going to take one more big breath here. Inhale, fill the belly. Feel the chest rise and expand. And then exhale, squeezing that air out. Draw the belly button in toward the spine. And before we get started in our bridge, we're going to hug these knees in toward the chest. Give ourselves just a little quick squeeze. Maybe lengthen out one leg. Just notice how that feels. Then bring the other leg in and switch it out. Bring both of our feet back flat to the mat. And we're going to bring our hands by our side. Maybe our fingertips are brushing the back of our heels. Let our focus come to the toes and let the toes face straight forward towards the top of our mat. Now with that same tilt of the pelvis so that our whole spine is pressing into the mat. We're going to find our lift as we inhale. Press through the feet, press through the palms, lift. Maybe the shoulder blades come a little together behind us. Inviting the chest towards the chin. And then we're going to start a little flow. Lower back to the mat, nice and slow. And then inhale, fill the belly, lift back up. And exhale to lower, one vertebrae at a time. Inhale and lift. Exhale and lower. We're going to keep that flow just a few more rounds. Try to keep our gaze straight up towards the ceiling, especially when we're lifting. And exhale to lower. We're going to take 2 more rounds. And once we lower back to the mat, we're going to bring our knees up over the hips, stacking those knees up over the hips. But if we want to bring those knees in a little, it might make it a little easier. We take the hands behind our head, let the elbows point out nice and wide. And we'll take our inhale here. Exhale, right elbow across towards that left knee and extend that right leg out, yogi bicycle. Inhale, center. Exhale to the other side. Inhale, center. Exhale to the other side. And we're going to keep that flow right there. Alternating sides. Firing up that core for the work to come. Pressing through that leg in the opposite direction. One more on each side. We'll rest our head, hug our knees in again. Take a nice cleansing breath in and out. Relax the belly. Now we're going to extend the legs straight up towards the ceiling. Flex the feet strong. Feel that stretch of the back of our legs. We might have a bend in our knees, and let it be as generous as we need it to be. And we're going to just feel that extension as we press up through the heels a little bit more as we're grounded down through that low back into the mat. Now from here, we're going to cross this right leg in front of the left. Now once they're crossed, we want them to cross high up on that inner thigh. We're just going to bend the knees and let the feet fall to the sides. Now we can either grab the knees here to give ourselves a little squeeze in, or we might grab the outer edges of the feet for a little deeper stretch. We're going to feel it through the glute muscle here a little bit. Remembering our breath, take a nice full deep inhale. Slow, complete exhale. And then we'll release. Unwind the legs. We're going to take it to the other side. Left leg crosses in front of the right, high up on that inner thigh. And once we're there, just bend the knees, let them fall. And we might just grab the knees, inner or outer knee, hug them in, or we can grab for the outer edges of the feet. But if it's not available, really just let it go. Just the start of our practice here, finding what feels good. We're going to take one last breath here. And then we'll release, unwind the legs. And we're going to bring our hands to the back side of our legs here and give ourselves a rock all the way up. And we're going to take this into some boat. So we're going to ground down through our sit bones and let our feet come flat to the mat. We're going to sit up nice and tall. So notice if we're rounding through our upper back, find that nice tall spine. We might even use the hands on the shins to kind of find ourselves nice and tall. Relax those shoulder blades. And then we'll come to the toes. Hands might come to the back side of the thighs as we take a little lean back. And we can stay here. We're going to feel our core fire up. We might let the feet leave the mat. Now once we're here and we find that just right spot to balance, we can release the hands and really feel that core working for us here, but we still are breathing. Find that breath. Big inhales, complete exhales, finding that focal point. Shaking is normal here. One more big breath. And then we'll release the feet. Grab the shins. Take that big inhale, lengthen straight up. Exhale, round over the legs. Reach toward the toes. Just round that upper back. We can even release the head and neck if it feels good. And then we're going to make our way over into table on our hands and knees. So swing the legs around, find our table, nice and neutral. So we're spreading our fingers wide like starfish. Press down, index finger and thumb, the inner part of our hand, really grounding down to find that foundation. Knees and hips are in line, tops of our feet pressing into the mat. We're going to take this right into cat and cow. Inhale, drop the belly, turn the tailbone up, and shine the chest forward like we're trying to shine it through the gates of our arms. Exhale as we turn the tailbone under, look towards the belly button, drop the head, press through those palms like we're pressing the middle of the shoulder blades up toward the ceiling. Big inhale for cow. And an exhale for cat. And we're going to keep that flow just a few rounds here, warming up that spine, exaggerated movement here. Always finding that connection with our breath. One more round, just like that. And we're back at neutral for our spinal balance. So we're going to find this right arm extending and the left leg extending. We're going to do opposite arm, opposite leg. Notice if that hip wants to open. We want to try to close the hip points so they're grounded towards the mat. Press back through our heel, reach forward through the fingertips. If we feel off balance, we can always drop both hands and just focus on that leg. Nice long press, an active glute. Maybe our gaze goes down towards the mat so you keep that nice neutral spine. And then we can maybe start a little flow here if we've got it. Knee and elbow together underneath. Inhale, reach and extend. Exhale, bring it together. Inhale and reach. And we're going to keep that flow just a few times. Maybe two more here on this side. And then we'll bring it back to our neutral table and we'll set up the other side. So we're going to set ourselves up neutral. Left arm, right leg this time. Opposites. Find those opposites. Square the hips. We can always focus on just the leg, pressing through that heel. Firing up through the midline. And then when we're ready, we can find that flow. Exhale together. Inhale and reach. Exhale, bring it together. A few more just like this. One more here on the side. And then we're back to our neutral table. Now before we press this into child's pose, we're going to give ourselves a little knee circle. So from our table, we're just going to lift this left knee and take it in some circles. So we're going to circle it out and around and then bring it back through center. In, out and around and back through center. We're going to just do two more. So really feel that firing up still in the core to protect and stabilize us here in this table position. And once we're back to our table, we just switch sides. Right knee, in, out and around. All the way around back, just to that hover over the mat. All the way around, back to that hover. Two more here. Nice big circles, waking up the hips. And once we're settled back, now we turn this into child's pose. Let the big toes touch. We can open the knees as wide as the mat as we press the bottom toward the heels. Arms extend out in front. Let our forehead rest on the mat here. Reconnect with that full breath. Just notice how we feel. Warming up the body here. One more big breath. Then we're going to help our knees together underneath us. Remember that we can always come to that child's pose at any point during our practice when we need it. So always listening to our bodies, always finding what feels good. There is no obligation here to do everything in this practice. It is your practice. I am just your humble guide, so always doing what feels good. And if it doesn't, then we always know that we have that child's pose. So we're going to start a little half series here. So with the legs together, and take the arms out as far out in front as we can. Maybe walk the hands out so that they're wide. We want enough room for our chest to come forward. We're going to pull forward into a kneeling plank, Stack the wrists and shoulders. We're on that incline. Lower the chest. Elbows are going to point straight back. So we really want to wrap the elbows in as we lower halfway. Pressing all the way back up. And then back to the start. So we got 3 more just like that. Connect the breath. Inhale, pull it forward. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale to press up. Exhale it back. We've got just 2 more here. Taking our time in these movements. Really focusing on the quality of that breath as we move. Now once we're back here, we're going to curl the toes and turn this into downward facing dog. Curl the toes, lift the hips, and more than trying to straighten the legs here or to get the heels to touch the mat, we might put a generous bend in the knees and focus on the hip crease so that we want that hip crease to feel like it's lifting up to the point of our V position here. And if that means we have to have a generous bend in the knees, we do. Keep the fingers spread nice and wide. And invite the chest to press towards the thighs and let the head go. And then once we're here in this shape, we might pedal out the feet here, one heel towards the mat then the other. Just waking up the backside of our legs. And then from here, we're going to lift our right leg for some 3-legged dog. We might just pause there, or we might open up the hip, bend the knee, let the toes drip behind us, kind of like those circles we had earlier in our table, letting that knee open out to the side. Square the hips, drop that foot back to the mat, and we're going to take it to the other side. Left leg lifts. And we can pause there. We might bend the knee, open up the hip, whatever feels good here. And we'll square off those hips, drop the foot. And we're going to pull forward into some plank. So coming forward, nice long plank, or we might be a kneeling plank. So if in our kneeling plank, we don't want it to be table, we want the knees to be back. And then when we stack the wrist and shoulders, find that space between the ears and the shoulders. We've got that core activation. That's what we're looking for here on our plank. We can be in full plank. Curl the toes, lift the knees. Maybe keeping our gaze down towards the mat. Always looking for that nice long line in the body. And for a little challenge here in our plank hold, only if we want it, we can lift maybe one leg. And then we'll drop it and take it to the other side, lifting. And then dropping. We're going to hold this plank. Just one more long breath here. And then we're going to lift the hips, press back into down dog. As we bring weight into the feet, notice that we take some weight out of the hands here in our down dog. Should feel a little more like relief here. And then we'll take that walk to meet our hands at the top of our mat. Hanging in some ragdoll. We can give our wrists some rolls if they need it. Let our head and neck go. Maybe shake our head yes. Shake our head no. Might even feel good to hold opposite elbows. And really envisioning the dumping out of any junk we're holding on to, something that does us no good, and release it onto the mat. Breathing in some happy, some calm, whatever our positive intention is, whatever we need off the mat in the real world. Bring it off the mat. Bring that positive intention off the mat. Now, nice and slow, we're going to roll ourselves all the way up to standing. Take a big inhale, let the arms reach out and overhead. And exhale to heart center. Now we're going to step wide on our mats for some moonflowers. So we're going to step wide, let our toes turn out and our heels adjust in. We're going to find a little squat down. It can be as deep as we want it to be. Maybe our hips are a little tight. We want to keep it up pretty high, or we want to get really low. But notice that the knees are going to want to bow in towards the center. We're going to press those knees out toward the pinky toes. Elbows to our rib cage. Into some moonflowers. Inhale and sweep the arms up, straighten the legs. Exhale, bring it all back in and sink down. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. And we'll keep that flow right there, just a few rounds. One more, inhale and exhale. We're going to turn these into our sunflowers. Inhale, sweep it up. Exhale, this time we'll bend the knees, hinge forward with a flat back and a scooping motion with the arms. Inhale and sweep it up high. Exhale, hinge it forward, opening up those hips a little bit more. Big inhale up. And complete exhale to fold. Keep that flow, just a few more. One more, inhale and exhale. And we'll meet back up with our inhale. And then let the hands just float down. And we can either step or hop our feet together. We're going to meet at the top of our mats here for some chair. Let our feet come hip distance apart. Or maybe we prefer to have the feet glued together, really whatever is comfortable. But working for a little more stability, we might widen the stance here. So we're going to find our hinge at the top of the legs. Hinge, send the bottom back, and then bend the knees. So those knees are behind the toes in our chair. We're drawing the belly button in. Shoulders are relaxed. Hands can be right here at heart center. Or we might choose to extend those arms out and bring the biceps maybe up by the ears, shifting that weight into the heels here. Now from here, we're going to turn this right into our sun salutation. So take a big inhale and sweep the arms high. Exhale and forward fold, swan dive it down, lead with the heart. Inhale, half back or shaped like an L. Exhale and fold. Hands come to the mat. Right foot steps back. And then the left back for our down dog. We'll meet there. Inhale as we pull forward, plank, or we drop the knees, kneeling plank. Exhale all the way down to the mat. Elbows squeeze close. And inhale, scoop the chest up, shoulders go back. Cobra. Curl our toes, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Right foot stepping forward, and then our left steps forward and we meet it for that forward fold, let it go. Big inhale all the way back up. Exhale, heart center. One more round, just like that. Inhale, sweep it high. Exhale, forward fold, swan dive it down. Inhale, half back. Exhale and fold. Hands come to the mat, and we can bend the knees. Left foot steps back, and then our right back for down dog. Pulling forward into plank or kneeling plank, and we lower all the way down to the mat, slow and controlled. Big inhale, scooping up for cobra. And an exhale, back to downward facing dog. This time left foot steps forward, and then our right meets it for our forward fold. Inhale to come all the way back up. Exhale, heart center. We're going to pause here. Notice our breath just for a moment here at the top of our mat. And we're going to move this into our warrior series. So we're going to step our right foot back here and settle into some warrior one. So our back foot grounded on that angle, left toes are facing the top. We've got a bend in that knee and ankle right in line. Square the hips. Feel that tailbone right underneath us. We're nice and long, arms can reach. Relaxing our shoulders, relaxing our jaw. I'll open up here, warrior two. Left arm forward, right arm comes behind us. We might wiggle around that back foot, so that back foot's more parallel to the back of the mat. We keep those left toes facing forward. Maybe a little tendency to lean forward here. So find a little maybe reach back so we can keep our spine nice and long. Long arms. Flipping our front hand over. We're going to reach out and then up, reverse. Light touch on that back leg. Breathing through our rib cage. Find that expansion. Back to those warrior two arms for a side angle. Across the left forearm, over our thigh. Right arm reaches high. We want to keep a nice flat back here. So notice if we tend to dump some weight forward. Keep the tailbone tucked underneath us. Light touch on that connection, forearm to thigh. Fingertips longing up towards the ceiling. We're going to cartwheel this right hand down to the mat. We can be up on tented fingers. Maybe we're working with a block. Left hand is going to sweep high. Feel free to turn that back foot into lunge so that we're on the ball of our foot. Especially if our knee is cranky, we can be in this lunge. We could even drop the knee, make it kneeling. Left hand comes down, and we're going to take this into lunge. So we can be high on the ball of our foot, or we can drop the knee and be in that low lunge. So our choice, coming all the way up, finding that wide base. So we might have to walk the left foot over towards the left, right foot over towards the right to find that stability here in our high lunge, or we can find our right knee. So arms high here. In our lunge, we're going to drop the arms, open a goalpost. Elbows in line with the shoulders. And we're going to take some eagle arms here. Right arm on top of the left. Cross the arms. And then we have options. We can hold the shoulders. Or we can let the backs of our hands touch. Maybe the palms wrap around a touch. Wherever we are, we want to make sure we're getting lift up out of our elbows. So just getting a little more lift And we can pause here, breathing behind us into those shoulder blades. Or if you want to incorporate a little bit of back bend, one more breath, we're going to lift the elbows just a little bit higher, look up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, back to neutral. Unwind the arms. We're going to send them by our sides and then bring it down to the mat. So the hands come to the mat. And we're going to walk our hands to the middle of the mat to set up a straddle. I'm going to change positions so I can face you. So with our straddle, we want our toes to face the side of the mat. Again, we can use our block here, or we can have our fingertips out in front. Notice if we're hunching here through the upper back, let those shoulder blades draw back. Engage the core, pull that belly button up and in. We're going to find a little softness here in a fold. So take a big inhale and then exhale as we soften the chest. Now this may be a little baby move, especially if the backs of our legs are really tight. We can also put a little tiny bend in our knees here if that helps. So with each exhale, I want you to find a little more softness. Send that breath to any areas that are really tight. We might walk the hands in toward us. We might let the head go if that feels good. One more round of breath here. We're going to press back up into our fingertips or our block. Come to that nice neutral spine. Turn the heels in so that the toes are facing out. This is like our moonflower stance here. And with this nice neutral spine, we're going to drop the bottom down towards the mat and let the knees point out toward our toes. Same move as our moonflower here, maybe a little bit deeper because we're getting really low. Feel the knees point out. Feel free to adjust those feet closer in or farther out, whatever we need. We really should feel that opening up through the hips. One last round of breath here. Straightening out those legs. We're going to take a walk to the top of our mat and step back into plank. Finding that long plank, we can be on the knees here. We're going to open up to a side plank. Right hand stays anchored to the mat. Left hand reaches high. We can use that bottom leg as a kickstand here. But the top leg is nice and long. And most importantly here, check out our wrists and our shoulders. Let them be stacked on top of each other. Letting our joints work for us here. We could be in that full side plank, stack the feet, stagger the feet, whatever helps the balance there. Lifting those hips. One more big breath. And then bring that hand back to the mat and we'll press and meet in downward facing dog. Meet in that down dog. Release the head and neck. Notice if our heels maybe come a little closer towards the mat. Now from here, we can find a flow through or we can just settle to child's pose. In our flow, we come through to our plank, down and into our cobra. Big inhale to scoop the chest up. And an exhale back to downward facing dog. Now we have a few resting breaths, so we might take them to child, so we meet there. Or we can hold that down dog if we want a working break. reconnecting with that breath we had at the start of our practice. This is a great time to grab some water as well, which I am going to do. And then we're going to set up the other side. So take one more long breath wherever you are. And then we're going to meet back in our downward facing dog. Curl the toes, lift the hips. Now we're going to lift the right leg high like our three-legged dog. Look to the top of the mat and drive that right foot forward towards the top. And if it doesn't quite make it, we can always give it that walk up forward. Drop the back foot down. Set our foundation up for warrior one on the other side. Bending into that right knee and ankle right on top of each other. Feel that open space in the hip here. Square them forward. Nice and tall. Lift up through the crown of our head. Opening up warrior two. Right arm forward. Left arm behind us. Maybe adjust that back foot. Nice active arms reaching. But we let those shoulder blades relax. We'll flip our front hand over, reach it out, and then up, reverse it. Light touch on that back leg. Back to those warrior two arms. We got side angle. Let that right forearm cross our thigh, left arm high. Light touch on that forearm to thigh connection. It is a tendency here to dump weight and let our ear rest on the shoulder. Finding space always between the ear and the shoulder. Let that shoulder blade relax down the back. Left hand's going to come down to the mat, setting up our twist. We can be on fingertips. Maybe we've got that block. Right hand sweeps high. We can always twist on that back foot. Make it lunge or a kneeling lunge. And let that right hand come down. And we'll walk our hand, I'm skipping. We're gonna start our high lunge, high or low lunge. So we can be on the knee or we can be on that high lunge like we had earlier on the other side. So wherever we wanna be, and we can let each side be different if we need it to be. Dropping those arms open for goalpost. Eagle arms here on the other side. So this time left arm on top of the right. Cross those arms. We can just give ourselves a big hug here or find any variation of our eagle arms. And instead of letting our arms just kind of hang out here, really engage and lift the elbows. Press out away from the chest. And take a big breath. We're going to feel it expand the whole back side. And a nice complete exhale. Now if we want a little more, we might invite a back bend on this next inhale. Lift the elbows, look up towards the ceiling. Exhale back to neutral. And we'll unwind these arms. Release them by our side. Let those shoulder blades settle. And then take the hands to the mat. And now we're going to walk to the middle of the mat, into that straddle. Back to our straddle, let the toes face aside. Feel like the outer edges of our feet are pressing the mat away in opposite directions, up light on the fingertips, so that the majority of our weight stay in the legs. And then when we're ready, we can take that softness into our fold. Big inhale, exhale, and soften the chest. Feel like we're sending our tailbone to shine up towards the ceiling. And if it feels right, walk the hands in. Second time around, we might get a little bit more. Release the head. Pressing back up into our fingertips. With that nice neutral spine, we're going to turn the heels in, toes out, just like our moonflower stance, and then drop the bottom down towards the mat. Let those knees press out toward the pinky toes. We might feel like we have to adjust the feet in or out. And then we'll straighten out those legs. Walk our hands back to the top of our mat and step into our plank or our kneeling plank. And this time we're going to set up for that side plank on the other side. So the left hand anchors down, right hand reaches up. We can be on that knee or we can be fully extended. But again, stack that wrist and shoulder. A little bit of a balance challenge here if we've got both legs extended and they're stacked. And then we'll take that right hand back to the mat and back to downward facing dog. Settle into our down dog. We have the option for our flow one last time to pull forward into plank. And exhale down to the mat, nice and slow. Inhale, scoop the chest up. And exhale back to downward facing dog. We're going to take that walk to meet our hands at the top of our mat. Folding forward, let it go one last time. And then we'll come all the way back up, nice and slow. Inhale those arms high. Exhale, heart center. All right, we're going to take this right into our balance. We're going to do tree. I'm going to offer us a two-part balance. So we're going to take it from tree into our balancing pigeon. Pigeon is one of my all-time favorite poses. Any variation of it will do. Today we're going to take the balancing version. So we're going to start with tree. So know that we can stay here, any variation of our tree, and then you may take the option to move into our pigeon balance. So we'll start with that left foot, spread the toes. Nice strong foundation here is key in our balance. So if your mat is really squishy, you may find you want to step off the mat, or if you're practicing on a carpet, you may want to hold on to something, find something that you can grab hold of, the wall, the back of your couch, anything will do. But we'll butterfly, open that knee, toes can stay down on the mat to start, and let our hands come to heart center. And then we'll just maybe move that foot up to our calf and find a focal point. Something that doesn't move, that's like right out in front of us. A few feet. And if we feel like we've got it, we might grow our tree. Any variation of those arms, if you like the goalpost arms, or tall with the palms together overhead, or just a little separate, whatever feels right here in those shoulders. Now we can stay here, rooted in this tree foundation, or we can maybe let the hands come down. Let this right ankle cross over our thigh. We can give it help if you want to help to give it there, so it's right above the knee. And then we're going to hinge like chair, send the bottom back, and then sink into that left heel. Hands can be at heart center. We can have them at the calf or maybe out for airplane arms. Really, it's all about whatever helps your balance. But we should feel that stretch right through our glute muscle. Same stretch we get during our pigeon. So we want that knee butterflied open to the side. A strong flex in our foot. And once we've had enough, we'll press through that foot wherever we are. We're going to release, give it a quick shake out. And we'll take it to the other side. Start with that tree. Spread the toes. Strong foundation in that right leg. Butterfly, open the left knee. Hands at heart center. Find our focal point first. And then that foot slides up the leg. As long as we're not on the knee joint. So we want to avoid putting pressure, pushing outwards on that knee joint. So keep it below the knee, or if you want, you can hike it up above the knee. And then grow that tree when we're ready. And we can stay here, or we can cross that left ankle over the thigh. Let the hands sink so that we kind of contain ourselves, make ourselves smaller for the balance. Send the bottom back, sink into that right heel. We're going to feel that stretch, and it might feel different on each side. Totally normal. We're going to press through that foot and release. Shake it out. We're going to meet back at the top of our mats, coming down for a few cool down stretches. We'll take our inhale and sweep it high. Exhale, forward fold, swan dive it down. Inhale to our half back. Exhale and fold. Hands come to the mat. We're going to step back into our down dog. We can meet there and pause, or we can find that flow through to our plank, down and into our cobra. And then we meet back in that downward facing dog. All right, we're going to pull forward into our plank, drop the knees, and then lower all the way down to the belly. So once we're down on the belly, walk the legs straight back behind us and bring the elbows so that they're right underneath our shoulders for some sphinx pose. So notice the difference between sagging into our shoulders, kind of pressing to make that space. So whatever feels good here, we want to press into our pelvis, right into our sphinx. Nice gentle back bend. Now from here, we're going to take this into a one-legged frog. So we might bring our hands together and kind of just clasp our hands together. And we're going to take this, starting with the left, curl our toes, and kind of walk that left knee out to the side. Now it might just be a little bit. So we want to try to avoid dumping a lot of weight over to the right. But just like our frog, we're going to take it easy here in this one-legged frog. And if you feel like there's more, you might walk the knee up a little higher until it gets maybe about hip height. But if we're feeling really tight in the hips, or feeling maybe a little crampy because we haven't been stretching every day, then we might just keep it low. keep it as low as we want it, whatever feels good here. And take one more big breath here. And we'll walk that leg all the way back. And we'll take it to the other side. So curl those right toes, kind of walk that knee out to the side, and then walk it up only as far out to the side as we want it to be. We want to try to maybe take a peek back and keep our ankle and our knee in line. We're going to get a little bit of a lift out of that right side, but we also want to try to invite the right side towards the mat to feel that opening. One more big breath here. And we'll walk that leg all the way back. And then we'll lower this chest all the way down to the mat. Hands are going to come right underneath our shoulders so that we can press back into child's. Invite the chest towards the thighs. We're going to feel that counteraction here as we drip over the legs. And then we're going to slowly make our way up and come over to a nice, easy seated position. So swing the legs around, make our way over onto our seats. Let those legs lengthen out nice and long. So with nice long legs, we're going to take our forward fold, flexing our feet. We can have a generous bend in our knees, really as generous as we need it to be, because I don't know about you, the backside of my legs have become extremely tight. So feel free to take that bend in the knees. We're going to inhale and sweep the arms up, lift and lengthen straight up. And then exhale as we fold. And if we go and stop, we can let the hands rest wherever they are. Trust me, no expectations to touch our toes or to get even close of our chest towards the thighs. Not even an option for me right now. So it's more of a journey of where we're going and what feels good. So really feel free to bend those knees generous and be kind to ourselves here. Most importantly, not as consistent maybe in our practice as we would normally be. So just making this more of a practice of really finding what feels good in the moment, being proud of yourself for being here on your mat. It's an accomplishment. Just taking the time out of your day for yourself. It's a big deal. So let everything else be gravy. Whatever you do here in this practice is perfect. So we're going to walk those hands nice and slow back up. And then we're going to take this right foot to our inner thigh and kind of let that knee butterfly open. And then we're going to take the left foot and swing it around behind. I'm going to turn to face you. So the shape looks like this. We're going to take our right hand behind us, find our hip, and then walk it out maybe a little step. Press into the floor so that we can lift the hip points up and forward, and then let this left arm reach up and over. Nice little back bend, nice opening up, a little stretch for our quad. And we'll lower all the way back to the mat, and we're going to switch out the feet. So we'll take the left foot in and the right foot behind us. We might want to make sure that we're on the top of our foot in the back. That might help the stretch through the quad. Left hand comes behind us. Find a good spot so we can press into the floor. Lift those hip points forward. And then the right arm comes up and over. And then we'll lower all the way back to the mat. Unwind the legs, and we're going to make our way back onto our mats. So we'll rock back. Find that nice comfortable spot. Let our back body relax. Hug the knees in. Lengthening out just our right leg down along the mat. Let it rest. Hug that left knee in nice and snug. And we're going to take this into our twist. So take the hand to the outside of the leg. Guide that leg across the body. Hips are going to roll. Toes might touch down to the floor. Notice our shoulder might lift off the mat. We want to try to guide that shoulder towards the mat, extending that arm and looking towards the direction of that extended arm might actually help to keep our shoulder blade towards the mat. Breathing here through this twist. Almost there. Savasana is coming. We'll take that knee back up center. Lengthen out that leg. And we'll do the other side. Right knee comes down.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Bring that knee across the body. Toes touch down. Right arm extends out. Look towards the right. Just let that shoulder blade melt into the mat. We'll take this knee back up to center. Hug the other knee in. Give ourselves one last squeeze. Hug our knees. Maybe lift the head up off the mat toward the knees. Squeeze ourselves nice and tight. And then release. Lengthen our legs out. Setting up for that Savasana. Relaxation, tuck the shoulder blades. Everything just falls away. If we prefer to have our feet flat to the mat, we can rest the knees together like tent poles. Maybe we grab a blanket or a pillow. We're home. Do what you want. Do whatever feels cozy and comfy in the moment. This is your Savasana. So make it your own. Finding this release. We can be here as long as we like, as long as we have the time for. We can pause the video and just enjoy the moment. Start to bring some movement back to our fingers, back to our toes. And we'll slowly roll over onto our sides when we're ready to a nice fetal position. Maybe use our arms, a little pillow here. Just give ourselves that thanks for coming to practice, to be on our mats, making time for ourselves, honoring the space that our bodies are in today, and every day is different. And when we're ready, we'll meet in a nice, easy seated position with our hands at heart center. We'll inhale, our arms up, going beyond ourselves. Exhale as we open ourselves up, give it all away to the world and everyone in it. And by that one simple act, we'll scoop back up the benefits, the gifts, and the blessings the world has to offer us, and we'll tuck them gently into our heart and be at peace. Thank you so much for joining me for today's practice. I hope to see you live and in person sooner rather than later. I miss you all. I've gotten many emails and messages from people who are enjoying these practices. I appreciate all of your feedback. I miss each and every one of you. So feel free to send me a message through Facebook at Jenny's Yoga Journey. On Instagram, I'm also here in the comments on this video. So I appreciate you all. Thank you for watching. Namaste.